Everybody, this is Ori from AstroWeb, and I'm going to introduce you to Zendesk Support. So Zendesk is a company that has products around support, customer service, live chat, um, and just information to connect businesses typically to customers. So this video is going to talk about Zendesk Support, which is the most popular um, or most common product that they sell. So I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to go over some of the more important things or some of the more common things that at least we use in our projects with our clients, and just kind of introduce you a little bit. If you do have any questions, let me know and I'll be happy to answer, create more videos and more detail. Just let me know. Okay, so I've set up an account. Right now we have a professional plan, which is kind of the third tier. And it has kind of a lot of more features and some extra, just some extra features, extra things you can do. So this is a dashboard right now. Right now we're logged in as an agent. And an agent is basically someone from the business that handles tickets. An end user is someone who is really a customer that's asking an issue, asking a problem, asking for a solution. An end user, is a customer. Agent is the business person that's going to answer. And agents can also be in groups. So typically, the business will group agents into their understanding and their knowledge, their type of support they can provide. So for example, there might be like an entry-level agents that can handle basic tickets. There might be managers that are above that need to approve tickets. There might be technical groups that really can help technical answers. That might be general customer service or very specific ones. So groups are really going to group agents. And on top of that, there's another thing which is called organization, which and organizations in Zendesk can group agents and end users together. So if your company has very specific business units or sub-companies, or you need to organize groups of agents and end users together, you can use organizations. So those are kind of the three most basic concepts of Zendesk, right? Most agents don't really care too much about it. They know about groups, but organizations are a little bit bigger grouping. Okay, so right now I'm logged in as an agent. This is a sample account, and when I log in the dashboard, I can see kind of some basic stats, how many open tickets I have for myself, how many open tickets are in my group, and most likely I'll belong to a group with multiple agents. Some ticket stats if there's some kind of reviews or something. So when you open a ticket, Zendesk can send follow-up emails and you can have customers rate you. So good, bad, explain why, and then obviously you can see some stats, how many tickets have been solved. So here you're going to be able to see all the tickets that are relevant to you, that you require attention, and you can click on any one of them to start addressing things. Now, what you can do instead of selecting one, if you're within your dashboard, you can click on play, and the play will basically choose the first one, and you can answer it, and then once you answer it, it'll immediately, the next page will take you to the next one. So you have kind of an easy way to kind of go one by one if you don't want to choose specific ones. Okay, so let's go to the tickets themselves. So I'm going to go on the left-hand side to views, and I have my tickets right here, but on the left-hand side, I have an organization, which Zendesk calls views, which are fully customizable, which you'll be able to easily manage your tickets in different ways. So you can see, for example, all of my all unsolved tickets, or only new tickets in my groups, or pending tickets, or tickets that have not been touched within a certain amount of time. And all of these views can be customized. And you can minimize them, you can have less views, you can have more, and each agent and each group can have their own types of views. So if I'm technical, I might only have a ticket for technical tickets or a specific category or something like that. So later on I'm going to show you how to kind of make your own views. So once you're in your views right now, you can always refresh it if there's a new ticket coming. You'll be able to click on a specific ticket. So let's click on it right now. Okay, and in the ticket, this is a really standard format, right? So the left-hand side are all the related kind of, I don't know if metadata is the right word, but information about the ticket. And then on the right-hand side is the subject, the customer itself, and then the information about the ticket. So let's look at a few of these things. Okay, so first of all, tickets that you open, there's like these tabs here that are going to open more and more to kind of be able to have shortcuts for you so you can see where you are and jump between ticket to ticket. So assignee. So let's talk about the first thing. So assignee is which agent or group is going to handle this ticket, right? So if I'm taking a ticket for myself, in this case, I'm just called the MOOF. So this ticket is assigned to me. So it's assigned within the support group, and you can see a person here. That means it's assigned to a specific person. If I want to assign it to a different person, I would go here, go to the beginning, find my group. You can see two-person icon. I would assign it either to a specific group or a specific person. Now, in normal business setups, you would have multiple groups and multiple agents. But here, if I assign it to a group, for example, I click here, then anyone in the group can take that ticket and either work on it or assign it to themselves or assign it out. If I assign it to a specific person, then it's assigned to me, right? Now, I don't have an example right now of this, but if you assign it to a group, for example, and another agent is already working on the ticket and you go in to try to work on it, you're going to see two things. One is there's going to be like a eye icon right here, which you know someone else is viewing. And when you go here, there's going to be, if you do decide to go inside, you'll be able to see if the other agent is actually doing something. So maybe they're editing or they submit a ticket. You'll be able to see some kind of data. So I hope in the future I'll have some videos to show, kind of more detail about that. So you can see multiple organizations, multiple agents working on tickets side by side. So I'm going to have to figure out how to make a video of that with multiple agents. Maybe I just use different browsers. Next one is you can CC the messaging, the ticket information to other emails, agents, etc. So if you really want to forward it on somewhere. Next one is these right here. So let's go to type. So type, you can, it could be a question, an incident, a problem, a task. This is really default, just a way to organize your tickets. And priority, right? You can set priority for yourself as an agent or for your group to kind of explain how to prioritize things. So if you remember before, in a view, we could potentially have a view here called high priority tickets, which could be addressed very easily and found very easily, right? So let's go to the ticket right here. And each one of these, so out of these fields, you can also customize what fields are relevant to your business. You can add more. They can be drop downs. They could be typing in. They can be a few different options. They can be numbers. They can be yes, no's, things like that. So we'll show how to customize that a little bit later in the video. So this is the topic of the actual ticket. This is the customer, the end user, and this is where you're really going to input your information. So this is a test. I can go and submit it as a ticket. I can also write an internal note which will not get submitted to the customer. It'll only stay internal to the business. Anything that's under public reply will get emailed to the customer. So here you can see, for example, conversations. These are all the back and forth of I opened the ticket, a customer opened a ticket, the agent is replying, another agent replies. They'll just be scrolling here. The other thing you can see is events, which will basically show all internal and external things, right? So you can see all the tags being set up. So these tags, you can see email notifications. So this is really showing the whole flow of everything that happens. Customer opened the ticket, they got an email notification, this agent responded, then the customer responded, etc. So you'll be able to see the full flow. In general, the conversation is kind of the more popular view. So let's talk about a few other things. So in the actual response and ticket, you can type things, you can use some basic kind of formatting, you can bold things, you can underline, bullet point, etc. You can put some lines, etc. What you can also do is you can drag files, or you can just click on attach file. And that's pretty much it. So that's kind of, you type things. Now, sometimes businesses, or many times businesses, want to have these kind of repeating themes or repeating content. So Zendesk calls it macros. And so what macros are, they're basically these kind of copy paste, ready to go clicking, I guess, content that you can automatically just put inside without having to type it. So I'm going to show you for a second. So I'm going to go here to my settings right here, and I'm going to go to macros right here, and I'm going to create something. So let's say, for example, a lot of customers ask about our shipping rates. So you might, instead of the agents having to always type them, you can set up a macro, for example, let's call it shipping rates. And in the, right here, okay, so in the description, for example, and again, you can do many other things for macros, not just, inputting like a specific content or text. You can also automatically change statuses or assignees or etc. You can have many more things. So macros are really automated things that happen with a very specific action. So let's say that the shipping rates are, I don't know, USA, $5, Canada, $6, whatever, etc., right? So here what I would do is I would go here and let's create it. Okay, this is a really basic one. Now if I go to my ticket right here, I can go to the ticket. This is my response, okay? And I can actually go here to apply macro, and I can click on shipping rates, and it automatically appear what I have. So these are kind of saved, I guess canned responses is what I was looking for, the word I was looking for before. So you can save those, and you can put some basic tables and some basic, bolding and, styling. So you can put those in the macros, and you can add them. Now, macros can be customized for specific agents or groups. That you can kind of do a lot of different settings. But right now I'm trying to show you the real basics of everything. Okay, so the last thing that's really remaining right here are what we call the statuses, or I believe they're called statuses in Zendesk. So every ticket will always be tagged to 4 things. So one would be new, which we've already opened before, or the ticket was already existent, so we don't have a new, and that's just, the ticket is new. The second one is open, which is you're trying to respond to the customer or not, and you're basically saying, hey, the business is working on the ticket. Once you submit and you need feedback from the customer, you're going to want to submit it as pending. So say, hey, for example, you ask the customer a question, hey, what's your shipping address? Then you would put it in pending because you're really waiting from the customer, the requester in this case. So this is the requester. Usually it's going to be the customer. You're going to say, hey, I want to mark this as pending. So let's click on that. So now the customer, for example, would get an email. They would reply to that email. And now, once, let's see here. Sorry. Once they reply, then you can kind of feedback again and again. So let's look at that for a second. So let's go to unsolved tickets. Okay, so here you can see under this column right here, you can see kind of the colors. This is a pending ticket, this is an open ticket, a new ticket, etc., solved ticket. So what you can see here is, let's say I got a response from the customer and I say, okay, thank you, I'm closing the ticket, right? Closing ticket. And what I can do when I want to solve it, I want to close the ticket, I click here, it's closed, and we're good to go. That's it. Now this ticket is completely closed. We're good to go. Okay, so this is kind of really the basic stuff of a ticket. It's really nice. You can, you can assign, assign tickets to different groups, etc. So this is the basics. You're going to communicate. Now, customers can always reply via email. So customers are going to get an email every time you submit this. And once they reply, you can get an email, and of course the information is here. So one of the really nice things about Zendesk is you can create your own workflows, your own business flows. So you can decide when an email gets sent to the customer, when an email doesn't get sent to a customer, when an email, for example, changes status, when an email changes information. You can have a lot of different workflows in a fairly easy way. So once you understand the logic, it's really, really easy. So I want to go over it a little bit later, but I want to show you some of the settings themselves. Okay, so one more small thing about this. So if you hover here, you can always add new tickets or new users or new organizations very, very easily right here. Okay, so let's go to the settings for a second. Let's look at some basic information. Okay, so first of all, let's look at people, right? So again, we have users, the end users, those are kind of customers. We have the agents, and agents are, managing tickets. And we have groups, which group agents into different groups. And we have organization, which really is a bigger grouping, which groups agents to end users and different business units, etc. And we also have admins. So admins is really admins are the top level of the access, which admins can kind of change all the settings for the whole business. So typically don't want to have many admins there. Okay, so if you do go and you want to sort out, see all your agents, you would click here. You can see your agents. You want to see your end users, you can click here. Or of course, you're going to probably have a lot, so you can kind of filter them, right? So just filter, for example, right here. Okay, so when you edit an agent and a user, you'll be able to see directly their tickets, related tickets. You'll be able to see some information about them. What can they edit tickets? Can they only view tickets? Can they view and edit tickets? You'll be able to see the language that they want to see their interface in, their time zone, some details, which these are internal for the company. So you might want to write some details about an end user, for example. And one really nice thing you can do, of course, their email, etc. One really nice thing you can do is you can customize both for agents and for end users. You can customize additional fields that you might want to keep in the system. For example, maybe their cell phone number or their habits or their dog's name or their address or whatever it might be. So you can kind of customize these extra. Let's look at it a little bit about the customization. So if you go here to user fields, then you'll be able to make your own user fields. So I can use any of these fields, a drop-down list. So those are ready list. Let's drag it and let's just call it, favorite food, for example. And I'm going to add some fields. So maybe pizza, and I'm going to add another one called, I don't know, cereal. Okay. And basically, what you can do, you can kind of drag them in the order. I can save it right here, or I can sort them. Let's save it. And now if I go to my people, and I go to edit someone right here, let's edit, you can see that favorite food, it can be selected. So now I can easily sort and view and know more, just collect more information about your end users and your agents. It's a really nice way to gather more information. So let's look at a few other things. So another thing, so actually, sorry, one more thing about user fields. In addition to the dropdown, you can have free text. You can have multi-lines, which are kind of a lot of information. You can have just information that collects only a specific number, like a phone number or a checkbox, a yes or a no. You can use these things. Regular expression is a very specific way to require data that formats in a certain way, okay? Or a date, for example, maybe birthday you might want to do. So you just drag these and, birthday, and you set it up and go to people right here, and let's go to a customer, and you can see, for example, birthday, and then you can select from a really nice, simple calendar. Okay, that's their birthday. Great. So this is kind of the basics of it. So let's look at a few other settings that are kind of interesting. Okay, so we talked about user fields. We talked about macros. Let's look at one more thing, which are views. So let's look at this for a second. So if you remember, when you are in your dashboard, when you're looking at your views, your tickets, on the left-hand side, you can see different views. So usually we want our business to, and our agents to have their own views that are only relevant to them. So you can really think about a lot of different ways to do it. So if I go to settings, I go to views, these are all my views. I can obviously remove them. I can click here. I can move the position of them either to the first, last, or select a specific, or I can deactivate. So if I deactivate your unsolved, then your unsolved, if I refresh this, it's gone. Okay, so you can add your own. So let's look at like add a view. Let's look at the structure a little bit. So let's say I want to just have a view for, I don't know, my very old tickets. Okay, so I'm just making up something right now. So now you're gonna have to look at the conditions. So when does this view provide actual ticket information, and then what happens with the condition. So if all of these are true, so for example, tickets, hours since opened, okay, for example, hours since opened is, for example, greater than, because they're very old tickets, greater than, instead of hours, I'm going to say 1,000 hours. I just made up something, okay? So if this is true, so if a ticket's since it's opened more than 1,000 hours, I want to, okay, so let's look at this. So I want to, for example, show these fields, right? So you can take any of the columns right here. So for example, I want to look at latest update right here, and I want to look at, for example, the priority. So this is basically going to show the, before you get into the tickets, you have what we call the ticket list. You'll be able to see all tickets that are relevant to this specific view. So let's look at this for a second. You can sort it. This can be grouped by or ordered by, and you can also assign views, which is a really good thing, to specific agents or specific groups, which is a really nice thing. So I'm going to assign it to all agents. Okay, so I'm going to click on the view right here, and I'm going to go here to refresh this. And now I have a new one called very old tickets. So if you remember, I set up the specific columns I want to see, right? So let's go to very old tickets. And you can see right here, the columns that I assigned, latest update, priority, satisfaction, are basically right here, okay? So obviously I don't have any tickets relevant because I don't have any tickets above that are older than 1,000 hours, but you can kind of understand the concept. So if you do have any questions how to set up specific ones, just ask me in the YouTube comments, and I'll be very happy to create kind of a list of how to do many different ones. But I just wanted to show that in this video a lot of basics so you can kind of grasp some of these things, okay? So another thing I want to talk about are ticket fields. So in a ticket, let's go here, let's open a ticket for a second. If you remember, in addition to these default ones, or mostly default, you can add your own ticket fields. So every business has their own requirements. So if I want to add a field, I can go and add a field. So I'm on ticket fields. I'd have to select what type of field. Is it a checkbox, for example, or a drop-down, or a number, or a date, or a credit card, etc. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to name the fields, for example, checkbox, and I'm going to say, I don't know, so agreed to newsletter, just say for example, okay? Is this ticket required to solve, is this a field, sorry, required to solve a ticket? I'm going to keep these as is, okay? And fill in now. Call it fill in. Okay, so you can preview it, which is kind of nice. You can see how it looks, right? It'll just look like that. And you can submit it. So let's save this. Okay, and now I'm going to go to my ticket and I'm going to refresh this. And now I should be able to see the ticket here. So right here, agree to newsletter. So now I have another field, another ticket field that I can use to kind of fill out information about my end user, my customer. So a lot of things, for example, let's look at another one right? And obviously you can edit specific fields as well. So I can click here and edit this one is called main question. I can edit that. This one uses a drop down, so I can basically reorder the drop down. I can make a default one, etc. So pretty basic. So let's look at here. Okay, so add field. Let's say I want a multi-select, so I can have multiple fields. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I can allow the actual agent to. Sorry, I didn't fill up a title. So this is a multi, for example. And I'm going to go to my ticket and refresh it. So you can kind of think about how your business can get additional information about the ticket in order to serve your end user, your customer better. So here's a multi. I can select, for example, maybe 2 and 3 are relevant, right? So you can select multiple. Okay, so let's see what else we can have that's pretty popular and common. Okay, so let's go to the main settings of the account. You can change the main color, the colors that you use. You can put the business name right here. You can add a fave icon, which is really this icon right here. You can, instead of having a subdomain, you can send customers to a specific subdomain. So my business, for example, .zendesk.com, you can use a new name, for example, support.mywebsite, and use DNS to basically tell Zendesk that, or tell customers and agents that you should go to this site instead of a Zendesk subdomain. So it looks cleaner for businesses. And you can localize it, right? You can change, these are really settings of the account. You can change your time zone, change your language, etc. So pretty basic stuff. So let's look at a few other things that are pretty important. So right here, email. Okay, so for the most part, unless you change the defaults, every time a ticket is opened or answered to, there's going to be emails that are sent to customers, to agents, back and forth. And customers obviously can reply to emails, to tickets via email. They don't only have to go to the back end and the website. So if you want to customize this, you can first set up an email that if a customer replies to it, they can open tickets, they can reply to tickets. You can set up your own email. So by default, the emails are the subdomain, something at the subdomain of your Zendesk. But if you, excuse me, if you actually want to add a new address, you can connect your own domain address. So if my website is called ori.com, I can make my own, support@ori.com connected to Zendesk. So I'd click on connect external address and kind of follow really just DNS steps. You can do that. If you want, I can make a video about that in the future, but I think that's kind of less common for this starting video. So here you can have a few other things, some basic settings you can kind of review. The really most important one is to have an email template. So the middle of the email is always going to be the actual content of the replies and the tickets, but you can change the style and you can change the header and the footer of every email to look like your business, right? Put your logo, etc. You can kind of change, especially the header and footer. Anything that has these kind of round brackets, these are kind of the internal code that Zendesk uses in order to populate dynamic content. So for example, the actual content. So that whatever you respond by the ticket, that'll be the content here. So be careful if you delete stuff, right? You don't want to delete the automated things unless you want the tickets to be in that way. So this is kind of an important one. You can see the text template and some basic stuff. This is really important to set up your DNS correctly, so emails don't get caught in the spam folders, and they actually are sent from your domain. So these are kind of technical stuff. Let me know if you have questions. I'll be happy to answer how to do that. It's pretty basic DNS stuff. So let's see what else we have. Triggers. This is a really important one. So this is kind of technical, but we need to talk about this. So when a ticket gets submitted, answered, opened, closed, modified, or transferred from different agents or different groups, triggers are the ones that are going to kind of decide what happens with the ticket. So the most popular triggers are obviously sending emails. So if for example, a very common thing is if someone opens a new ticket, a customer opens a new ticket, the trigger would trigger an email to be sent to the customer saying, hey, a new ticket is open, this is your ticket ID. If you have any questions, you can always reference this ID and reply to this in order to respond. So that would be a simple trigger, right? So let's look at some trigger information. So I can add one or I can edit the existing one. So a trigger is pretty basic, but it has some good flexibility. So let's just say trigger, I don't know, do not send email, okay, on new tickets, okay? So I can make one and I'll add a condition. So what is the condition? The condition would be status is new, right? So if I just have a new ticket, I want to do some kind of action. Actually, I don't want to do an action because I don't want to send the ticket. So I would basically say if status is new, I would save it and don't do anything. Just don't do any action. If I did want to send the ticket, I can go here. I can email the user, for example, right? Email user. The user would be the assignee. So the assignee is typically the customer that the ticket belongs to them. Or I can say, okay, email the assignee, and that's it. But I can also do here, which is new tickets, email the group and the customer. And that way I would say if a status is new, I want to email the assignee with this kind of subject. So maybe the subject would be, thanks for new ticket. We will respond soon, something like that. Okay, and I can also, let's see here, view placeholders. So if you remember these round brackets, you can automatically insert things. So for example, thanks for your ticket, and then ticket number would be, and I can reference, for example, ticket ID. Copy, and I can put it right here. And now I put this ticket ID right here, so now I have an actual number that is populated based on that ticket. So you can use these placeholders to find a lot of cool stuff. The name of the customer, their email, their ticket ID, the content, etc. And I would save it. So you can see that I can add multiple actions. So for example, I want to email the user and I want to email the group, right? This only the support group. So you can really go far. So for example, if my condition, if it's a new ticket and maybe the priority is, let's say, is urgent, then I want you to email the customer and I want to email support and I want you to do this and I want you to do that. So you can really kind of play around with a lot of ideas. So these are triggers. It's really, really nice things. Let's look at another thing that's kind of interesting. So automations, okay? So automations. So automations are kind of like triggers, which they look at these kind of conditions or these things to happen, and then they do something based on it. So give you a really simple example. So let's create an automation. And let's say, for example, if my condition is, let's say I want to have a condition that says, if a ticket, for example, has been open for more than, let's say, 500 hours, just for example, and so meet all of the conditions. So if this happens and the ticket status is not closed yet, right, is not solved, then I want you to email, for example, let's see what we can do here. I want you to email the group that is responsible, and I want to say, hey, like, take care of this. This is ridiculous. Like, you haven't responded and solved this issue. Like, something's wrong. This is my automation trying to help solve business problems. So I hope that makes sense to you. And then, you save it, and then you test it, etc., and then it works. So this is kind of a nice thing about automation. So triggers and automation are really these administrator tasks that try to fit the business to kind of do things automatically. And now emails are not the only things you can do, but those are the most common ones by far. So that's kind of the concept. So let's look at two more things. Let's see what we can find. So another thing that Zendesk has, which is really nice, are the marketplace. So if you want to integrate your Zendesk with other systems, maybe you have an e-commerce site like a Magento site or Shopify or something, or you want to have these extra functionalities, you can go to the apps directory and you can find interesting apps that kind of help you optimize your business, your ticketing, your support, and maybe like connect different things to different sites. So you can see these categories. In general, the ones that kind of use are to connect our e-commerce sites to it, but you have a lot of different, large and small a business, or sorry, large and small apps. So for example, maybe you use a task management system and you want every time that a ticket is open with an urgent task to automatically open a task, in your Trello or your other to-do list system, and then you can kind of connect from there. So here's another one. I haven't used this, but I can assume that, for example, if a ticket is solved and the customer is happy, we can send them a link to review our application or business application online. So I'm just guessing this, haven't seen this one. Or open a CRM entry of a customer, etc. There's a lot of things you can do, time tracking, etc. So that's kind of the concept. So let me see if there's anything else we can kind of talk about. Marketplace is an interesting one. Some are obviously free, some are paid, etc. Some are with different tiers of Zendesk plans. So let's look at one more thing. I just want to give one thing that kind of popped up into mind. So this demo, because it's just like a new account, there's a side one, and I can't really show our internal messages. One of the other things about groups, which I haven't been able to show, is when you assign the tickets to groups or people, you really need to understand the structure of the groups, because you can set up in the settings right here that, for example, based on views, for example, you can specify that certain agents or certain groups can only, for example, see tickets that are within their group, right? So you can set up all kinds of ways to make sure that certain agents can only see theirs, certain agents can share tickets. You can really do a lot of flexibility with that. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those in future videos, or just ask us questions. I'll be able to show it. I'll try to figure out in the future how I can have an account, again, with multiple groups, multiple accounts, and then show you how tickets can be jumped from one group to other agents, to kind of be involved like a real business that has multiple agents and multiple things going on at the same time. So that's basically it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what other things you want to do. Just lastly, Zendesk does have a reporting system depending on what kind of plan you're using. I want to make more data, and in the future I want to make a whole video just for reporting, showing you the basics plus how to build your own reports and give you some examples. But I need some time to set it up and gather some data on this new account. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think and what you thought, what you think. Hopefully you like this, and we'll make some more videos soon. Thank you.